Hello everybody and welcome to the iCode channel. Today I'm going to show you this new episode that we're going to cover this incredible new device, which is the iCode Arcade Spinner Ultimate, but its configuration for the MiSTer. So I received a lot of requests because these just came out for pre-orders, and I did a quick video last week on how to use this on your emulation systems like Windows with RetroArch. But today I'm going to configure the MiSTer to work with this device. Now the MiSTer has a few good arcade games and other games on Neo Geo and others that use this spinner. Today I'm going to probably do a walkthrough for the most common ones. Probably Arkanoid comes to mind, being as the #1 game that's really fun to play with a spinner control. Another one on the MiSTer that I like is Super Breakout. And I have to tell you though, my really favorite is Pong. And I've got a surprise for you on Pong, so stay tuned on that. Those are the really oldies. If you all remember, Pong came out in 1972. So it really takes us back in time and shows my age. But let me show you what you need to do to pre-configure the device before we configure the MiSTer. And let me give you a quick overview of the device quickly now, and then we'll do the settings, the pre-configuration. Then we'll go into the MiSTer configuration. Then I will show you some of the gameplay. So for the pre-configuration and the overview, basically what we have is, let me show you this device. It's got a really high quality, premium quality spinner here. So it's nicely weighted. It fits in the palm of your hands really well. The premium device, you can spin left and right, and you can see if I spin really fast, it can continue. It's got really nice grips on the end, really nice finish, chrome finish, and it feels smooth to the touch. And it is a little bit weighted, so it feels not too heavy, but not too light and flimsy either. So it feels right to the touch. It's got really nice illuminated buttons here. If I turn off the lights, it looks even cooler. But they are programmable buttons, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then it's got these other buttons on the top that can also be programmed. And then I love these left and right buttons on the sides, because they kind of like fit to your thumb and your index finger very nicely. So they can work really well. This black button is to get into the settings of the device and the menus. And the settings are done through this screen here. And then it's got a USB-C connection, so you can connect it to your whatever device you're using. The LCD screen, it is configurable right now. It's set to animation mode, so as I spin the spinner, you can see it's animating, and it's also showing me the button reactions. If I press it, you can see the buttons show up. Even the left and right buttons show up on the sides of the animation, which is kind of cool. The animation can be turned off. It makes a very, very slight difference. I don't think most people will notice it. The device is powered by a Raspberry Pi 2040 microcontroller, so super capable system. That's why you can get sub 1 millisecond response. But refreshing the screen with animation can take down to about 1.5 to 2 milliseconds. So you can turn either the screen to basic mode, which I'll show you, or off. I like to keep it on basic mode when I do gameplay, and that serves it quite well. But either way, it's okay. The screen also has other capabilities. There was a mini game that I showed in the other video. I won't go into that too much, but you can actually play a game right on this little screen, which is quite interesting and fun. But let's get to it. I'm going to do the pre-configuration of the device before we get setting to the MiSTer. So to do the pre-configuration, we're going to go and press this black button. And now you can see I'm into the menu system. and I can scroll, up and down. And let me zoom in so you can see the screen display a little bit better here. So from the very top, port 1 is designated to the spinner that's built into the system. There's actually 2 ports on the device. If you want to open this up and put it in an arcade cabinet, you can purchase a second spinner, or you can even use an arcade 1-up spinner if you have one of those, and it'll plug in right into the board as port 2. But right now, for this video, we're going to just focus on port 1 settings, which is the built-in spinner control here. And then the mode controls what is it going to emulate. Is it going to emulate mouse only? Is it going to emulate gamepad only, or both mouse and gamepad? For MiSTer, you want to keep it on mouse and gamepad, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Some games, you want to leave it on this setting because you can use the buttons on the device for things like start, select, and coin, and 1-player versus 2-player, and pause, and other things, while still use the mouse for the spinner control. So Arkanoid is a good example that will use mouse for the axes, but the gamepad for buttons. So, but for the pre-configuration, we're going to be on this mode as well. That's really important. The axis controls either horizontal or vertical. Horizontal means when you move the spinner, is it going to move left and right on the screen, the mouse, or is it going to move up and down? So horizontal is left and right, and then vertical, here, let me go here and change this. You can see it toggles to vertical or horizontal. So keep it on horizontal for our configuration. The unit does have a really cool feature that even though this is set to horizontal, during gameplay, there are ways you can, and I'll show you that you can, like for example, hold down the yellow button and then move, and then it'll swap the axis for you. So if I've got it normally set to horizontal, if I push the button and hold it down and then move, it'll act like vertical movement. So that's a really cool specific capability of this device. Then another really game changer on this device is the acceleration setting. I like to keep the acceleration depending on the game. For Arkanoid, I typically put it on 3. If you're a beginner, maybe put it on 2. But let me just change it to 3 for now. But basically, acceleration means the faster you spin, the more rapidly will it move from left to right. If you spin very slowly with motion, then it's going to move very granular left and right on the top screen. So it gives you both precision as well as high speed at the same time. And that's not available in other spinners that I've seen out there. So that's a unique game changer on this, and I'll show you how much that impacts the game, especially on the MiSTer. On other emulation systems, they might have some software emulations for acceleration, but they're still not as good, I can tell you. But we'll talk about that. Sensitivity does not control the speed that I spin, it's how much I spin. So if you like to spin a lot to get from left to right, you can still spin fast, but it doesn't matter how fast you spin, it's still going to take that same amount of rotation to get from left to right. So that's what the sensitivity is for. And I like to keep it on very high because I don't want to spin too much to go from left and right, but I still want to be able to control it precisely, and that's where acceleration kicks in really nicely. So we'll see that in action in a minute. So those are the 2 settings there. I'm going to skip port 2. That's for arcade cabinets. And then the common settings area, this is where you can set the gamepad to emulate different sticks on typical gamepads, because gamepads have left stick, right stick, they have a rudder controls, they have a D-pad. So you can toggle through these, so either left, right, rudder, D-pad, or none. For pre-configuration, I like to leave it on left, and most games like Super Breakout will be left. For Arkanoid, we're going to be changing this to none later. But for pre-programming, we're going to do that. Okay, so the display I showed you already on animated mode. So let me change this to basic because that's going to give us the most amazing response time. And then display position should be off. That just shows you a numeric value for where you are on the spinner. We don't need that. And then the mini game I talked about on my last video. And then mapping the buttons. This is where I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to really change anything. But for gamepads, you can control each of these buttons. So for example, the red button, what do you want it to be? Do you want it to be gamepad button 1, 2, 3, 4? They're pre-configured for you, but you can override these and change these to be different buttons on the gamepad. So the yellow one, I like to make sure I have it on axis. In fact, make sure it's set on axis, because that's the one that I mentioned that is going to help me override my axis. So when I spin the spinner, it'll move up and down if I have the yellow button down. So that's what controls that one. So I'm going to leave it set to axis. And then mouse button, same thing. You can say, okay, if I'm in mouse emulation mode, will the red button act like a left click or a right click or middle click or forward or backward or so on. So those are preset. You can see as follows. And my left and right buttons are set to left and right respectively. And really that's all the pre-configuration we need. So I'm going to go ahead and exit the menu. Here we go. It's a black button. And now I am on the basic info. So you can see on when I'm in basic info, it just shows me what my settings are. So I know what they are. But it doesn't really change anything when I move. It's just a static display. So it doesn't take any CPU cycles to update the screen. It's just showing me my most common settings so I can remember what they are. All right, so we're now ready to configure the MiSTer. So let me show you what you need to do. So basically, reset your MiSTer, turn off and on, make sure you've got it plugged in, and once you get to the main area, press F12 on your keyboard to get to the menu system, and then go to this area which is called Define Joystick Buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter there. And now it's going to want to know a D-pad test. So for D-pad tests, it's important that it's going to be looking for gamepad. So I'm going to move this to the right, and then I'm going to move it back to where it is. So notice where the line is. I'm going to do a quick clockwise and then back to where it is. So I'm going to do right and then back. Okay, so that's how you get right. And then down, I'm going to hold the yellow button because I had that first axis override. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing clockwise and then back. Okay, so that was my D-pad test left and right. I mean right and down. And now it's asking for tilts. We're going to skip because we don't need tilts set up. And now we're into the gamepad setup area. Okay, so this same thing, we're going to just go to the right and then come back to the center really quickly. So right and then back. Okay, now left and back. Okay, then for down, we're going to hold the yellow button. And then we're going to, again, do clockwise and back. And then counterclockwise and back. Okay, so now it's asking for button A. I like to make this center button, big button, A. Okay. I think I must have. Okay. I went back to the menu and came out and it worked. So I pressed A, and then B is this one. And then X, I like to use the red button. And then Y, I don't want to program Y because I want to save this green button for coin, which is typically start. I'm sorry, I want to use this for start, and I'm going to use the blue one for select. So I don't want to put anything to Y. So I'm going to skip Y by pressing the space bar or the user button here. And then left and right buttons, I'm going to use this left and then this right button. And then select, as I mentioned, I'm going to use the blue, and start, I'm going to use the green. All right. And then mouse, trust me, you can skip these. It'll still use the mouse. So just skip because it won't recognize it in this screen area. So just skip through all the mouse ones. And then for menu, I don't like to map the buttons for menu because during gameplay, if I press a couple buttons by accident, I might end up showing the menu and I get confused. So I skip typically this. But for menu, okay, once I'm in the menu, it's nice to be able to use the buttons. So I'll say the big button here for OK, the bottom one for back, and then tilt, so I'm going to skip. Okay, so that's all the settings you need to do for the MiSTer. So we've done the pre-configuration, we've done the configuration. So the next is to maybe start up a game and look at the game configurations and gameplay. So to do that, let's go ahead and escape and go to Arcade. I'm going to push A key to go down to Arkanoid. Now, as I mentioned earlier, for Arkanoid, you want to turn off, because Arkanoid does support mouse and spinner, so we want to turn off the axes for the gamepad, but we want to keep gamepad emulation for coin and start and those kinds of actions and fire buttons and so on. So I'm going to go to the settings real quick, and I'm going to scroll down to the settings area, and this gamepad axis, I'm going to turn it to none. Okay, that means the rest of the buttons will still work, just the axis I'm turning off. Okay, and I'm going to come out of the menu. All right, so I think we're ready. So I'm going to go ahead and start Arkanoid. And if y'all remember, I had my acceleration, you can see it's set to 3, and sensitivity is very high. And as you saw, I changed my game axis to none. Okay, so as soon as I'm in the game, I can press the red button, which is I had set up for coin, which is the X. So I'm going to give myself a few credits here. And then one player was the blue to begin the play. So if you used another spinner, you'll know it doesn't work that great without acceleration, but check this out. Look how nice I can move left and right, and it's very precise action, and I can move slowly or I can move really rapidly from side to side, and it still works just amazing. It's even better than the original arcade in my opinion. So let's see if I can show you guys the fire button if I get lucky and we get a fire going. But basically, to serve the ball, you can press this button on the right side and it'll serve it, which is very convenient. And I've got a little bit of a delay on the screen rendering, no delay on me moving. So just my camera is a little bit delayed, so if you see my hand move and the paddle is acting a little bit behind, it's not the gameplay, it's just the recording, so don't worry about that. But it is just super responsive, and it's just amazing control. Woo! See that? All right, so that's a little bit about Arkanoid. Let me turn off the acceleration just so you can see what other spinners typically look like on the MiSTer. I'm going to go ahead and start the menu, and I'm going to scroll up to the acceleration. I'm going to turn the acceleration to 0 because that's the and if you become really good at it, you can increase the acceleration from 2 to 3 and so on. Okay, so now it's set to 0. All right, so 0, I mean, it's okay, it plays pretty well, but it's just not the same. Let me show you why. All right, I'm going to go ahead and push one player. So hardware mouses have pre-built accelerations, but spinners typically don't have acceleration. So you can see I can still, do very good control with good precision. But if I try to go from, right to left really fast, this is pretty much the fastest I can go from right to left, because it's just, not going to do the acceleration, but it still works pretty quite well. But that's a game changer on the acceleration, I can tell you. All right, let's break here and go to another game, which is going to be Super Breakout, as I mentioned. So I'm going to go to the cores area. I'm going to go down to Super Breakout. I'll push S, get that a little bit faster. And okay. All right, but before I started, I'm going to change, because Super Breakout does not support mouse. It requires analog stick to do absolute positioning. So that's what we're going to emulate, but we're going to use the spinner, of course. So I'm going to go to my menu here, and I'm going to go down to my setting axis, and I'm going to change it from none to left. Okay, and then Super Breakout is already quite sensitive, so I'm going to turn the sensitivity back to 0, because otherwise it's a little bit too sensitive for me. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 0. All right. All right, so now we got it set to left for the axis, for the gamepad, and then acceleration to 0. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start Super Breakout. All right, first thing you want to do is go to the menu and make sure you change the controls from buttons to analog stick, because that's what we're going to emulate. Okay, and then go back. So now I'm going to go ahead and do my thing like usual, press myself a few coins, and then get me a one-player game. So now you can see I can again move very quickly, and it's working quite well. And I'm going to serve myself a ball. I can figure out which button was the ball. I think it's, oh, it's still not in one-player mode. There we go. Now I'm in one-player mode. Okay. I think it's the red button. The red button is reset. Come on now. Which button? There we go. Okay. So now you can see very nice gameplay as well, and high precision. The screen's kind of small for me to see, but I wish I could go to full screen. But if I leave my hands off and go to full screen, I'm going to lose the ball. I don't want to do that. But let's give it a shot over a few seconds, and then we'll do the surprise game, which was the Pong, and I'll show you something really cool. All right, so you can see I can, precisely move this thing quite well from left to right, and still move rapidly and keep pace with this game. It's impossible to do this with a gamepad, but spinner, especially this one, gets you where you need to be. Okay, so let's switch to the last gameplay I want to show you, which is Pong. And that's on the MiSTer, of course. There's so many awesome games like Tempest, Major Havoc, and so many more that I'll talk about towards the end of the video. And I'll do another video on other platforms. I wish we could get the Tempest core done on the MiSTer, but it's just not ready yet. So, but eventually, I'm sure it will come soon. Okay, so let's do Pong. Now, Pong is a two-player game. So, first things first, you're going to go to the settings and change this from Y to X-axis, because I had it set for horizontal, and we want to do that. But similar to Breakout, it uses absolute positioning. So now it's going to let me control this once I start the game. So I've started the game, and now you can see I can move my player quite nicely with very high accuracy and speed up and down, and instant response. Again, my video is a little delayed on the recording, but I can assure you, it's like amazing control. Now, I love this game. Pong came out in 1972, believe it or not. It was a long time ago. So maybe I show my age a little bit, but to play this two players, it was so much fun. So here I've got another unit here. I'm going to bring that and I'm going to plug it in to another USB port. And let's give it a go. Let's see if it works. Okay, so now we've got two of them connected. I'm going to push and sure enough, there we go. Look at that. This one controls this one, and then this one controls this paddle. So now we can enjoy two-player action. I'm not very good at left and right-handed at the same time, but I think you get the idea. Wow, this is super. Woo. Oh, wow. All right. Well, I think that gives you a good overview of the iCode Arcade Ultimate Spinner. I mean, these are really cool devices. They're not available to ship immediately, unfortunately, because they're still going through manufacturing for mass production. We did have a first batch that we posted last week. They all sold out very quickly. Those ship out, I think, July 12th. And then we just posted the second batch for July 19th. They're available on pre-order only. So visit www.icode.com, icode.com. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the device, things that you like to see improved, games that you might want me to try. Would be love to try a few more games and do some recordings. So leave me your thoughts and comments, and any feedback is good feedback. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And so give me a thumbs up if you did. And till next time, take care.